Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 350. Ding, ding, ding. Of the Saturn Studs Podcast. I'm Kurt, joined once again this week by my Trae centennial co-host, Peter.
You see what there's got to be a word for it, for
what, sesquicentennial was what, 175? 150.
It's the sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial episode of the Saturn Studs Podcast.
My favorite one. I've been waiting for this. I'm gonna get a banner and everything.
Wouldn't 300 have been your favorite one because of your bowler, and that's the bowler number?
Wait, yeah, but I'm trying to break it. I'm trying to get past that point now.
Trying to beat your
trying to raise my game.
We bowlers have been trying for years to find the extra pin to no avail.
It worked when you guys made it past 9-pin.
Yeah.
It used to be 9-pin, and then you broke through.
I feel
to
like
10.
the arrangement of 9-pin is easier to knock down, but the ball's smaller, so I guess it balances.
Y'all
out.
want an update on my bowling life?
I do.
I played
desperately.
You've been waiting on bated breath, but I finally played duck pin bowling last week.
Oh, what the fuck is that?
So
you bowl with ducks.
That's not like candlepin bowling, right?
No,
that's the Northeast version. That's the thing we have in New England.
Somebody was saying that like it was really duck pin was like, I think maybe started in Maryland or something, but I've seen the balls and the pins up at my bowling alley up in New York. So I don't know like how, if that started in Maryland and spread out from there, but yeah, duck pin is like you have short, like wide
pins. They're just little tiny pins.
Yeah, they're literally if you just shrunk down normal bowling pins.
Like not even lock aspect ratio. They're like they're little short stacks.
Yeah, they're like you
got fat dumpies.
You just squeeze the top part when you're like minimizing a picture. You didn't go by the diagonal. You just drew it on the top.
Yeah, it's the fucking wide Putin of bowling pins.
It literally is. And then you're using a tiny bowling ball that you just chuck down the alley at like breakneck speed because it's the size of your palm of your hand. It's a lightweight shot put that you can just throw like a baseball basically, and the pins fall very easily, and they make you get 3 tries, 3 attempts, and it doesn't really make sense a lot of the times.
I think that's the best overall review.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. There's just not a lot of logical consistency to the procedures or the rules or anything really.
I've bowled in a lot of bowling alleys that were I would say old and dated as shit. This was by far the oldest bowling alley I've ever played in.
Hey, it ain't out of style. You out of style.
So no monitors. You had to write your scores down, and then you as the person had to reset the lanes. By pressing a button. It wasn't automated, so there weren't sensors to know that you threw 3 times or you got a strike. There was no cameras down there, so you had to manually reset it. You had to manually like request that the balls be given back to you. So if you run out of balls, you just forgot to press the button. I was like, this shit is real old.
Did you get an A&W burger while you were there?
I did not, because the snack bar had fake pretzels in the pretzel machine, and I'm pretty sure they just sold like bags of chips and soda. That's their snack bar.
Wait. Now
this is either really old or like some sort of hipster fucking paradise.
No, it was really old. They were like BYOB. We don't serve alcohol.
Now, when you say pretzel machine,
like those.
What do you mean?
Those pretzel warmer boxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had the hooks.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like string up pretzels. So they had one of those things. They had a pretzel warmer, and I went up to look at it, and it was like child's like plastic pretzels that there were just 3 of them just hooked up there, and I'm like, huh? Wait, what? They're not even real.
Those are for display purposes only, Jake.
That's just to get
Don't
you
eat
in
the display pretzels.
That's just to get you in the fucking door. Oh, they have pretzels? I'm in.
Well, you laugh, Jake, but I'm a guy who might say that in just his casual life. Like, there's an arcade at the mall near here that boasts to have the largest pretzel in Albany, and I desperately want to eat it. Even if it's not good, I want to know.
Want that pretzel. Like, I get tempted by Annie Ann's instead. I could have dinner, or I could go get like the greasiest pretzel that I've ever done eating.
I will get the cinnamon sugar. It can't be good for me, but I love it all the same.
Yeah, it was an experience. So I'm glad I did it, and
yeah,
I'm not gonna do it again probably.
He'll be out here looking for the next generation of bowling, which I think we can describe on this edition of the cast, which is, other than the Sesquicentennial edition of the cast, it's also the brick through a plate glass window edition of the cast. I think that's the next iteration of bowling, is you take the ground away and you just throw it at the pins. You say go along and you just throw a rock at some fucking sticks. They have axe throwing. Why do they need ball throwing?
And of course, as always, we're coming at you live from our favorite location, Gambino's Pizzeria. You know, we're gonna get some. We got ourselves set up in a booth. We're gonna order a couple large Zaz, and maybe they might bring us over.
The delivery man make 50th delivery of the day.
Our delivery man is Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Thanks, Dan, for being the best delivery guy.
Movie. My God.
The money's in the mailbox.
So hard too. I don't.
Every time I think back on it, I get mad at how sad it tried to make me feel.
So it's kind of funny. I was debating on just going by myself, and Kristen had the day off, so she's like, "Yeah, I'll go." You know, maybe we can get ice cream afterwards or something like that. I'm like, "Oh yeah, maybe." And as the movie ended, I'm like, do you still want ice cream? Because I don't want to eat for a week.
I went by myself at 3:30 on a Tuesday, and I had left work early for a dentist appointment, and there were 3 people in the theater counting me.
Honestly, I had a similar experience, and I'm very glad. I would not. That would have been. It would have been less enjoyable with like a crowd of people.
But like all 3 of us like kind of reacted the same to some of the stuff where it's like, oh no, please don't be like that. Oh, come
on. I looked at the online to see how many people, and there was like 1 person there, and I was like, oh shit, okay, neat. And as we were like finishing up dinner and walking over there, I looked again. There was like a lot of people, and the guy in front of us was like, "I'll take a ticket to Whale." I was like, "Shit, okay, this movie theater's filling up." And they shoved us in the back of the theater, the last possible one. No heat. They turned off the heat to it, so it was like frigid as shit in there. It had the captions, subtitles on too. And there was one guy who just made an egregious error in laughing at one of the sad parts. And I was just like, oh, dude.
Bro.
No. Come on.
Bro, don't be that way.
I forgot what it was. It was something like where just how heavy he was, or how the massive weight of it. He just like burst out laughing or some of that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll get more into the specifics when we dive into the whale. I'm sure there are whales in all the oceans.
Yeah, where were they?
Idaho.
Yes.
Idaho. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and yet not one potato is consumed in the course of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't expect him to be just nomming on a potato like an apple, but then again, I also don't know Idahoans, so maybe they do
I
that.
hear. That's what I hear.
I want. Is it too much to ask for a potato you can eat like a hand fruit?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
I think that's a
like-
pretty reasonable request.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
know,
we
we've
need to
been able-
bridge the gap from russet gold to like Jonna gold.
Isn't that kind of like a hash brown though?
Could be onto something. What if you cord like you bake? Well, what if you bake a potato?
I don't know if potatoes have cores.
You could eat a baked potato like a hand fruit.
Yeah, with enough binder in the potato, it'll hold up when you pick it up. So
Wait, I think there's a fundamental
wait,
misconception. Before we go to
engineer.
trailers, how do you bake your potatoes, Jake, that they don't
Oh,
fold
I'm thinking-
together
I
when you
might-
pick them up?
I might be thinking of a twice baked potato. Like
Yeah,
where you
I'm thinking
scoop
of
out the innards and you mix it with stuff and put it back in.
no. Okay, we're at
That's
a different
good,
level.
though.
I'm talking about poking a fork hole in a potato, microwaving it for 3 minutes, kind of baked potato.
I used to do that shit with like a sweet potato when I was like,
Peter, that's the most depressing sentence I've ever heard.
but when I was like, when I
You
was
have
like
an air
cutting-
fryer, dude.
I also haven't baked any potatoes in the last while. That's the quick and dirty way to do it.
No, you're not. It's not completely sad. I mean, I used to do that with sweet potatoes. I'd bring a sweet potato to work, and I would just like wrap it up in a paper towel.
You say
stab
wrap it up
couple
in
times,
foil and stick it in the microwave.
and then I would throw it in the microwave. And then for like 3 minutes, I think it was, you just nuke the potato, and then it generates enough heat to power a power plant, and you just slowly chip away at it until you're like, this is a lot.
Who needs calories when you have like raw like actual calories, like actual heat coming
Yeah.
off the potato?
There, some things I've learned in my life about food is that some things just hold on to heat like crazy. Rice and potatoes are the two main things that just are like cling wrap to heat. Like, I think they could be a hand warmer.
Potatoes, yes. Right. Well, it depends on how they're prepared. French fries don't hold their heat as long as you would
Oh,
like them to. And rice sometimes. I haven't had my rice stay too hot for too long.
I do like
Like,
microwavable
put in
rice.
rice balls, and by balls
shit's
I mean
so-
rounded triangular prisms.
Filled with meats.
But
Is
here
that what they are?
here on the studs,
Here on
we
this
fill
movie,
our rice balls
this
with
movie-
trailers.
this movie podcast. Talk about movies now. Yes, this is Trae Watch, our trailer review and roundup segment. But all's just as well because there ain't a whole lot of trailers this week.
No,
So
we've cobbled them together. We've wrapped them in paper towels, and we've thrown them in the microwave for your pleasure. I'm just gonna start with Scream 6, Scream 6 trailer, Scream 6 trailer number 1, Scream 6 trailer number 1, parentheses 2023, close parentheses.
it's the Ghostface killer. He's in New York. He's doing some killings.
I'm gonna do a version of Jukebox Hero, but you change out the Jukebox Hero with Ghostface Killer. He's a Ghostface Killer. He's got murder in his eyes.
Question about Scream, because I don't think I ever watched a Scream movie. Is there a supernatural element to this, to Ghostface?
Maybe.
No. In the original Scream, it was two people actually,
Yeah.
and they were just like high school punks.
So
It should also be noted that Scream has always kind of been a parody or like almost a satire of the horror genre, and I think they're doing that in this one in a different, of what like recent horror has become. Like with like a new Halloween series, right, where you take the final girl from the first movie, and now she's like the grizzled, like, tough as nails veteran, mentor figure, and she has like the shrine to Ghostface Killer. There's like all this, there's all this lore and like backstory, and it just doesn't. It's like it's just a killer.
Yeah.
So I think they're playing that up too, like the soft reboot of horror. I could see them doing that, where they're just like, this is a tongue in cheek look at like those kind of reboot movies.
Well, that's what the last one was, I think. But also kind of played straight.
They're all just tongue in cheek.
Well, I mean, yes and no. The tropes are part of it, but like it's still at its core trying to be an effective scary movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just got a niche fandom or what, but I've heard like positive reviews about seeing this trailer. Like, not what I expected. Because I would have expected a response more towards like Halloween, like, hey, it's overdone. It's the same guy, just different setting, different characters, but you're just gonna pull the same shit. And to some extent, there seems like there's a lot of callbacks to the original. Like, I know like the phone call, like, oh, I'm calling, and they're wise on it. They're like, this hasn't worked before, yada yada. But I don't know. I hear a lot of things about like, oh, it's in a city, and that makes it scarier for some reason.
City slickers.
The killer can be from anywhere, but I don't know. Maybe I reserve my judgments. I'm probably not going to watch it. I don't really care for the Scream movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not invested in. I haven't watched any of them before, so I'm not going to watch this one. But I do like the kind of idea, like the partial notion. The idea of like the bystander effect means that even in public, they can't save you from the killer, and you're like still on your own, even around other people. Because that's one of the big like challenges whenever you're making a horror movie is like, why can't they call for help? Why can't they get help? And this doesn't, not explain away like calling for the cops or something, but I like that idea that like you can't get help from anyone because like just no one wants to get involved with that shit, and no one's gonna. It's not my problem. I can
now, Peter. See, this is where we gotta disagree, because very clearly in the 2002 documentary Spider-Man, directed by Sam Raimi, the people of New York will stand up to any supervillain.
Hell yeah.
Is this in New York?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know because it was in a big city, right? A city with a subway system, but there are multiple.
They don't make movies about other cities except for New York and LA, Peter. Occasionally you might get Miami in there.
The establishing
no one wants
shot.
to set their movie in Chicago.
Yeah, the establishing
this is a
shot
world without
was definitely
Spider-Man, and as the people of New York will like raise Spider-Man up as a Christ-like figure in Sam Raimi's sequel documentary, Spider-Man 2.
Chronicling the further adventures of Spider-Man. Yes, I recall.
The first scene was of the Win New York jackpot and Mega Win. So we.
Okay. At a bodega.
I thought bodegas are bodegas like
little
clothes shops, or they?
Well, I guess that's more like a newsstand.
Yeah, it's bodega. I call any kind of corner shop. Where
There's a bodega. They got the Coors in the background, the Funyuns, and
Usually,
Ruffles.
I think they'll also, if it's a bodega, they also have like a flat iron grill and some rudimentary sandwich making ability.
They'll usually have a cat lying around. They'll also have a small selection of groceries.
Maybe you can get a custom sandwich the Aki way, and without forgetting the Bev. Never.
Never.
No, never forget the Bev. You first put the pancake on the grill, And then you put the honey bun on the pancake, top it with bacon, and maybe a peanut butter and jelly sandwich all between that.
Exactly.
Never forget the Bev.
Never. The Kurt, go. I'm not gonna say go watch the Aquaman because I see that and I'm like, I can't do it. It's too strong, too powerful for me.
Let me get
just
it.
like dodging the trailer for Scream. That's the Scream. I'm glad we went to the same place there. We went to the same thing and it said welcome to Marlowe.
Marlowe.
Wasn't that a movie with Steve Carell?
That was Welcome to Marwin Gwyn.
Okay. I was gonna say it was like Welcome to Marley, but that's a movie about a dog.
That's Marley and Me. Yeah, Welcome to Marwin was the not Ben Stiller, Steve Carell movie about making dealing with his trauma by making little Marine soldier World War II style puppets or figures that he would get rid of his trauma with.
Yeah, it's based on a book or whatever. But from Marlowe, from director Neil Jordan, the silver screen takes on new meaning as Liam Neeson and Diane Kruger show their age while starring in this unexpected LA noir adaptation.
So, is detective stuff really hot right now? Ever since I don't know, Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express. I think
there's been a small kick for it. It's not been huge, but because we haven't had a straight up detective, a non-satirical, just straight on 30s, 40s detective movie in a while.
So
quite a while.
The vibe that I got from this was really good up until I saw all of the egregious action scenes and he's just doing Taken. LA noir detective.
Liam Neeson's agent has made it very clear that he will not take any role that does not involve him looking for someone.
Yeah. I'm really good at playing a guy who's looking for somebody.
He's comfortable with it. He's got it down to a science. He doesn't want to do other shit.
I like the comment saying finally he's in a big budget movie again, and I see the first wide shot of the town, and it's all bad CG, and then I see the set design is great. The costume designs are great. The lighting director and the cinematography director could only afford one gel per shot, so everything's lit monochrome.
Oh, that might just
sunlight.
Be an artistic choice. And also, it might be because fucking the quality of trailers on Rotten Tomatoes trailers is fucking garbage.
I like when the tones go all blue, and then the tones go all red.
Yeah, if yellow is when they go to Mexico, what does it mean when the camera turns blue? Or green, or orange.
Blue means he's good.
Well,
he's a Jedi.
Green means you're in the Matrix.
Oh.
Okay, yep, that's true. Where was Drive set?
Drive? I think just
nameless town.
Yeah, okay, I have no recollection.
I like to imagine though, I'm looking at these scenes. I like to imagine they put one of those, where they have the spinning color gels in front of a spotlight, so the color slowly changes over time.
Yeah,
you just put one of those in front of the projector.
So I didn't realize. Okay, so this is a recreation of Philip Marlowe.
I guess
what is that? What used to be an old show or something like that, or book too as well.
Maybe a movie.
One of those long shot reboots.
Philip Marlowe is a fictional character created by Raymond Chandler, who was the characteristic of the hard-boiled crime fiction genre. the hard-boiled crime fiction genre originated in the 1920s, notably in Black Mask magazine, in which Dashiell Hammett's The Continental OP and Sam Spade first appeared. All right, cool.
I like, you know,
Oh, it was a
I never
TV
thought
show.
about the term hard boiled.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would name your genre after something that makes the subject matter bland and flavorless.
Well, I think it is just playing off the hard-boiled detective like terminology, which I
Why
don't
is
know
it
the
called
origin of
hard-boiled?
that.
Yeah, I was like, why are they called
So,
hard-boiled detectives?
Because
Because
they're
they eat eggs.
they're tougher.
They're just eating, they're popping eggs.
Because I mean, like a regular egg is fragile, but a hard-boiled egg is tougher, I guess.
there's a few Philip Marlowe movies.
Just spin.
First in 1946, Humphrey Bogart played Philip Marlowe
Mm,
in The Big Sleep.
big shoes to fill.
Yeah. So Liam Neeson taking on Humphrey Bogart and gonna do it while punching faces and taking names and
And then someone did
finding
it in
people.
the 70s, the late 60s.
Yeah, they've recreated it, so it's time to do it again.
Had Bruce Lee in it.
That's when they were trying to be diverse.
James Garner is Philip Marlowe. Carol O'Connor, Gail Honeycutt, Rita Moreno, Sharon Farrell. I don't know any of these names. William Daniels. Yeah. All right. That certainly was a directed by Paul Bogart.
Paul Bogart, not
Oh shit!
he's Bogarting the name, which is not something you do in polite society. Which also
Is that
happens to be our next trailer.
There we go.
Got it.
Polite society is a trip, man.
Yeah.
Oh, just a couple of gals doing some banter.
It's like if Bollywood remade Get Out, it would look something like this.
I don't know where this is gonna land on like the Western movie versus Indian movie kind of like line here, because the subject matter is about Indian people, but I don't know if they're gonna how much of the the Indian cinema tropes they're gonna take from it.
Well, but
You
they're
know?
it's also not set in
Primarily
India.
the runtime.
It's
It's gonna be 3 hours.
It's set in London though.
Right.
So maybe it's
but not every like Bollywood movie is set in.
Well, what I mean
like
is it
Delhi.
might be more of
Yeah.
it might be more of like a British Indian like
That's what I'm thinking.
not not conforming to the old ways of their culture. Seems like they're setting her up with a bunch of stuff and like you have to do it my way and her rebelling against that. But there's a lot of tropes of like maybe some Bollywood-esque like tomfoolery. Just like the
you see a lot of that in the trailer. This is gonna be plenty Bollywood for Western audiences.
Yes, that is very true. Like, so it is also very clear. People in the comments were like decrying this as one of those where you could see the whole movie in the trailer. It's like maybe, but it's not that bad. So it's the stunt lady. It's the two sisters, and one wants to become she's going to marry into high society, and the other one is going to become a stunt woman. But then they like kidnap the sister, or the stunt woman sister finds out that it's all like a trap, and they're going to do some like experiments or something.
Yeah.
So she's got to free the damsel with her kung fu prowess. But the old Indian lady, she's also has kung fu powers.
Their kung fu is quite extraordinary.
how many flying kicks do you want? Yes.
I do appreciate that they're mixing that with like the dress choreography to make some really interesting kind of visuals.
Oh yeah, like this is a very visually interesting movie, which is one of the strengths of Indian cinema just in general, is that it's always very visually interesting. There's a lot of flair and flash to.
And it's also, you should also mention that this is like definitely going to be a sillier movie.
Yeah.
Like they're not trying to make this like one hundo serious because the premise is so ridiculous on its face.
Yeah.
Like everyone in their fancy dresses doing like kung fu kicks and shit.
So written and directed by Nina Manzoor, who appears to be playing the. Oh, I don't want to say that. She bears a slight resemblance to one of the actors in the trailer, but I don't see her in the cast list, so maybe that's just a coincidence. But this is definitely not like super Bollywood. Obviously, they're in English. The movie's in English.
Yeah,
and it's only an hour and 43 minutes. So
okay, so it's just a regular ass.
And I did see like some of these people are kind of I've seen them in other stuff. Like I know the one girl, I think it was like the big sister or somebody. She was in the Umbrella Academy. She had a pretty big part there. And I've definitely seen the other girl as well. The mom, the evil mom or whatever. Yeah, so I know Ritu Arya has been in the Umbrella Academy and a couple other things. And then is it her Nimra Buja? She's like it feels bad. Oh yeah, she was in Miss Marvel.
Okay.
It feels bad. She's got like a scary face. I feel like she's typecast as the villain.
Well, you gotta make that work for you.
She was the villain in Miss Marvel.
You gotta remember, the Disaster Artist. That would have been Tommy Wiseau's shortcut to success. He has a malevolent presence.
Or like fucking Lee Van Cleef from fucking Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yes.
That dude looks like a villain.
And he played
he's
a villain.
A very sweet dude, but
very nice guy. Looks like a villain. Played a villain in a million different westerns very well.
Sometimes it just happens to us. Just like it happens to the Mandalorian. He doesn't have a face. He's got a little mask on. He's got a little thing to hide his face under. Hey, look at me! I'm the Mandalorian. I'm from Mandalorian. Season 3.
Mandalore.
The trailer.
Oh, I never actually watched the full trailer, and I saw a bunch of clips and people talking over it.
Let's watch it live.
But yeah, no, I mean I've seen some bits and pieces of it. It looks good. I heard some people saying they didn't want another trailer, kind of gave a little bit too much. They were fine with how they did the teaser. I think that was enough. But hey, a little bit more Mandalorian never hurt. And we didn't see a sand planet, so
it's true.
That's a win for the community as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. There's more cool environments, which is just tough to do.
And that's one of the strengths I felt of the first season of The Mandalorian, more so, was that they explored more of the kind of diverse environments that you can dream up within the Star Wars universe. And there's a couple scenes in here where they appear to be on Tatooine, or there's sand on the ground, but most of the trailer is sand free.
Yeah. Oh, I guess they would have to, because they do go back to the mechanic shop. So they do go back at least once, and apparently they pick up R4, or no, not R4. Whatever the other droid was that had the bad motivator,
astromech or whatever.
Yeah, the other astromech that Lars was gonna buy, but he bought R2 instead. For some reason, that droid
Survived and as a
it
Are we
has
really scraping the bottom of the barrel for remember
Well-
this from the original movie?
absolutely.
well that's a trope for I think a lot of Star Wars things. People always try to hide that droid. It even got to the point where they made a story about him where he was a Jedi. He was the first Jedi droid. Don't ask. Don't ask. But he did come back in the mechanic shop. And he had the bad motivator. And you can see the burn marks. It was a good detail. And it makes sense for him to end up in some mechanic shop all these years later, just helping out somebody who fixed him. But apparently he does come back, and I guess he's going to be piloting the Mando's Naboo custom Corvette, whatever the fuck he has.
The speeder.
Yeah, because
No,
it's
the
got
Cornelian Corvette is what the Tantive 4 was. That's the ship that opens Star Wars. That's just a Naboo starfighter.
Not the Corvette.
Yeah.
So whatever his Naboo
Starfighter
is, yeah. He's got the astromech to pilot that as well. And yeah, you see some stuff. Looks like he's going back to Mandalore. We'll see.
He's gonna fight a Mandalorian Mandalores. And they all jump out of they all drop out of the battle bus.
Did they say
on their
thank you?
jetpacks.
Did they say thank you to the bus driver though? That's the
I can only
important
hope
part.
so. They say this is the way.
Yeah.
By all known laws of aviation, a Mandalorian can't fly. Its jetpack is just too small to get its metal body off the ground. But the
It's
Mandalorian
important.
flies anyway because it doesn't care what you think.
It is important to note though that I think the ones that jump out are the appear to be the Night Watch, which are the supposed evil Mando group that Mando was from.
The
Our Mando was from.
Evil-Orions. Yeah.
And then in the beginning of the trailer, you see the other group that was with
evil Mandalorian group. Let's not pretend like the Mandalorian people as a whole have a peaceful
and noble history.
Well, and that's
watch our playthrough of KOTOR with the Candyman.
Well, they were trying to. I mean, in the Clone Wars, and they were trying to change their, because they were this warring race that would always just fucking fight, and they were the soldier race. And I think at some point they changed their stance on that and try to be kind of more pacifist, and take a more neutral approach to the galaxy until the Night Watch, a rogue faction of the Mandalorians, had started to want to go back to the old ways, and they kind of overthrew the government of Mandalore.
Sounds suspiciously like the Enclave from Fallout.
Yeah. And that's when I think they were also infiltrated by Maul, and then Maul took over and got the Darksaber from them. And
will we get the Maul DeLorean?
Well, that's another reason why they think the armorer in the Mandalorian is she has the spikes kind of on the top of her head, because when Maul took over the Mandalorians, they all started fashioning their helmets to look like Maul. And she's the only one with those remnants, so she might be one of the last members of his faction of Mandalorians.
I thought you were going to say it was Maul. I'm like, well, he did get his lower half chopped off. He could put anything back on it.
Yeah, he finally just decided to go with legs. He should have stuck with the spider claws though. That would have been cool. Yeah. So we're going back to Mandalore. We'll see what we'll see how that planet's faring after the I forgot what it's called. I don't know. The Empire
the Mandalorian Wars.
It was I know what you mean, Jake. It was the Reckoning, or it was one of those, the
they have
event
a name for it. Yeah, the event that they do that they all reference.
Where they all got harvested.
Yeah,
or whatever.
They got fucked over for the Beskar. And the Empire just kind of seized their planet.
They went from the Beskar to the Reskar.
Yeah, and that's why the Mandalorians are all spread out over the galaxy and little small factions, and and now I guess the motivation for Mandalore or Mando. There's too many.
There will be a Mandalore.
Din.
Jin.
Winner, chicken din dar
I'm gonna
dinner.
call him by his goddamn name, Jin Darren or whatever his fucking name is. Our guy, our boy that we're following.
Jin
I guess
Darren
he's
here.
DeLorean.
He's going back to the planet to kind of make himself whole again, fix his mistakes, because he wants to get back in with his old family. Which I don't know. They're gonna have to play that kind of safe, because once he finds out that his family is evil, he should probably turn heel and not go back to them.
Well, that'll be the big twist.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he actually wants to like reconcile with the people who like are exiling him.
Mm-hmm. But he's gonna choose. I mean, he's gonna choose Grogu over everything. So
Yeah, and Grogu's gonna choose some dumbass Beskar chainmail over a lightsaber, over a dope ass lightsaber that was Master Yoda's. Come on.
just, sometimes you go for the defense build.
It really makes you.
The quest gives you 2 different items, and you're like, lightsaber's good, but like I already have Force, and I'm going into a defense. I'll get the mail. So now he can get shot. Now he can shoot the baby.
You always go with the lightsaber. Always go with lightsaber. God damn.
So if it means having to talk to CGI Luke for 12 years, 20 years.
Yeah, we'll see if there's a Luke in here. Probably not. But
would think
I
not.
can't imagine.
They already played that one.
I think that's in the back of the.
I'm still waiting for whenever they drop Kyle Katarn.
I would not hold your breath. All that
I
rich
wanna see that.
history is gone, Peter. Disney has to monetize their own.
I want to see that one leather shoulder pad and that William Riker ass 90s facial haircut, where they just have the donut of facial hair around the mouth. I don't know why that just strikes me as just so like late 90s, because like they had that on Kyle Katarn. That was facial hair for William Riker. That was also the facial hair for Gerard of the Weatherlight in the Magic the Gathering storyline. He had that hairstyle. So that was like a very in fantasy haircut or facial hair for the 90s. That aside, this is no segue. I don't know how you segue out of this facial hair rant I've been going on. We're going to segue from the 90s to the 80s to finishing the 80s and moving to the future with Cobra Kai Season 6. The trailer for Season 6. It's the last one, where they literally started out with, man, this show's been going on for a while. We made a lot more of this than we were expecting.
We never thought it would last this long, and it showed.
Well, especially with Netflix, who is gaining quite the reputation for just playing a good season of a show and canceling it right away, even if it has a good fan base.
Well, they paid all the money to get Cobra Kai from YouTube, so they need a return on that investment.
Yeah, because Cobra Kai had 3 seasons on YouTube Red, right?
I think so.
So this is technically the 3rd Netflix season, which is actually
usually all they get.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, that's the amount that they usually squeeze out of a show.
So I guess that's the ticket. I mean, that ticket will never come by again, because we're not going to have anything like YouTube Red. Well, we might, but it's getting more and more unlikely. But yeah, what a miraculous history this kind of show. Like the story of this show, not the story in the show. The story in the show is good. The Season 6 is going to be the same fucking shit. They're gonna.
Well, they're actually going to do the tournament now.
Yeah,
the Tournament of Power.
Yes,
Tournament of Cobras.
The
all
world.
Yeah,
they're all world valley.
Oh yeah, is that where we left off? They're all going to the worlds.
Yeah.
Fuck me, dude. They're gonna get a lot out of that. They could probably squeeze out 2 seasons.
No,
they'll
can
pull an
maybe
Attack
get
on
6
Titan.
episodes out of it.
No, I think I think they can squeeze out. They give it the Dragon Ball Z treatment and squeeze like a season, season 6, part
52
1 and part
episode
2.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Where we go
Have
through
a 2-year
every
break.
match.
Hey, there was no Dragon Ball arc. That was, well, Dragon Ball original, yes. Dragon Ball Z, no.
That's true. They had enough because they figured that was enough. Enough was enough by the time of Z rolling
And
around.
I think there were
Yeah.
only 2 tournament arcs in the original Dragon Ball, too.
And then they did Super.
The other thing that got kind of teased or whatever, they finally came out with a release date for 2 animated shows. One being the Prime Video series Invincible. They had a little short with Seth Rogen and Stephen Young. Their characters animated, kind of being a meta conversation.
He's like,
Starting off a little bit about the show and some of the plot points. And then another one about how, like, we haven't seen you in a while. Like, when are you coming back? And then it kind of says, well, it takes a while to do all the animation, and that takes a while. We want to get it right.
they're changing up the animation style too, right? That looked different.
Somebody
know
said
if
it
that was
looked
just for
higher
the teaser.
quality.
Yeah, so the criticism a lot of people had with the first season is that while the action scenes were very fluid and well animated, a lot of the non-action scenes had very little and fairly poor quality animation in them.
I just remember
They
it was
allocated their money in the right places,
Yeah.
but it was a stark contrast.
I remember the prime example of this was like the specific scene when they shoot that laser down into the earth
Yeah,
to hit
the
Omni-Man,
copy pasted birds.
and then they just copy pasted birds falling out of the sky. I was like, oh, after they just had this beautiful like explosion, it was the most jarring thing you can do in animation.
Yeah, it's
was
the I mean, a lot of animation does this in recent times. I think what's the term for it? Jay, I can never remember the term. I just want to say isekai. I just want to keep saying isekai, but
Isekai's a genre. of
yeah,
animation.
it's that term where they fucking turn up the fucking budget for their fight scene.
Oh, I don't know.
You know what I'm talking
I
about,
think
right?
that's just smart
where they're doing a fight
allocation.
scene and all of a sudden all the rocks break out into like little tiny cubes because that's like really hard to do.
Which is actually kind of funny because I remember back in the day with like Teen Titans, they would do the exact opposite. Where like the just walking around and the dialogue scenes would be pretty detailed, and the action scenes they would cut to like the chibi drawings, or they would not draw the background. They would just do like the monocolored action style, like a comic panel.
The term the term I'm thinking of is sakuga.
That might have
Sakuga.
been a question of like censorship to make it good for kids.
Huh.
'Cause
We
I
all
remember
know
that's-
about Spider-Man.
Yeah, there's like the Spider-Man rules, and they also had to call him Slade because the network wouldn't okay the use of Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that worked out. They definitely made that work.
Yeah, they made it work. I'm not saying it's better than it would have been.
Yeah, or they would
Slade.
reuse panels a lot of the times to save on money and have like transformation scenes. I think Voltron would do that.
Oh, yeah, Power
there
Rangers
was-
is notorious for that.
Yeah.
Depending on how
Yeah.
much time they had to fill the episode, they could like do 10 minutes of just making the Megazord.
Yeah. The other thing that they released was, I gotta get this right. Attack on Titan's final season,
Yes.
part 3, which will be split up into 2 parts. Part 1.
What?
Yeah. They're just making another season, but they
I
didn't
don't
want
know
to make.
I don't know if they're on season 5 or season 6.
Is
but
this
it's
like
a-
in JoJo's for the latest season where they released it out in batches, which is what they just used a term for like 3 episodes. So instead of releasing it 1 episode at a time, the last season of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is on Netflix, released them in batches of 3 episodes. So trying to figure out like a hybrid between one episode a week and like just dumping the whole season.
Yeah, they're kind of like I don't know if this is season 4, part 3, and I also heard it might get like split into 2 parts as well. So there's a lot of jokes about this. And it's rough. Yeah, they came out with I think they came out with 12 episodes, 10 or 12 episodes, and then they took like a half a year break, and then they came out with another 12 episodes, and I think they took like a year break. And everybody was like expecting like a movie to come out, and they just released that they're coming out with another 10 or 12 episodes, and it's rough. Especially because there's only 4 or 5 comics, like chapters, left in the manga, and usually you can go through a chapter in one episode.
Right.
So they're either stretching out or adding content to the manga to fill out these episodes, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like it's like, okay, you had the first season take place over the course of 10, 12 chapters, and that was great. And their final season is going to be the same length, but only a quarter of the chapters. What? That doesn't make sense. So,
yep. I don't know how it's gonna end. I don't, because I remember the manga ended with a lot of criticism because there's a lot of people upset that it just turned into like Japanese nationalism at the end.
Yeah, well, apparently they're changing it too. The author came out and said that we're going to be doing something different with the anime, which will be interesting. We'll see how it works out. There's a lot of speculation on it, but I won't.
It's going to be even worse.
I don't even know. I mean, because I think a lot of people didn't really like the manga ending, so maybe they're going to change it up because people didn't like that, and they probably heard universal opinion on how it probably should have ended.
Or
and maybe they'll go with
doubling down and making it even worse.
The other thing is going to be they're going to go really fucky with us and say that the manga timeline is a multiverse of this timeline, and they're kind of connected.
Oh no.
Who could possibly care?
So Attack on Titan is kind of like it's kind of cyclical. I kind of think it kind of ended where it began, and they're going to say that maybe the manga led into the beginning of the anime, and then the anime is going to go a different timeline, different route.
Spooky.
Yeah.
All right. That's trailers. Let's somehow we spun an hour out of that fucking bullshit. All right.
We're just that good. We're just that good, baby.
We've got the power.
We got the power.
Box office.
On Spotlight.
Nope, that's the wrong.
Let's follow these up and light these spots. And
take a guess as who's on
video
top.
Games.
Yeah, I'm trying to get OBS to cooperate with me. That's not.
So we had the Milk Weekend.
Yeah.
We'll see if does it want to cooperate with us this time?
Come on.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's right. I forgot to change up that browser source. Give me just a second, please.
Sure, we can talk. We can keep talking about anime. I'll talk about.
Nope, we're done. We got it. It's okay.
Okay, so when you have an isekai, and you have that one time my maid turned into my girlfriend.
I mean, I was actually going to talk. Just say a quick word. Trigun Stampede is out. First couple episodes that dropped. The story is a little thinner than I'd like so far.
Yeah,
but the animation is
yeah,
a treat.
But Avatar:
delicious.
Way of the Water won the MLK weekend at the box office.
To everyone's surprise,
$39.8 million. It rebounded quite well internationally this week and is now poised to cross the $2 billion threshold, as it currently sits at $1.957 billion. So, bully for you, Avatar 2. You're going to break even.
Yep. I'll eat my lunch for that, I guess.
Yep. And now I can actually, I guess this was what they needed to like fully greenlight all the rest of the sequels.
I heard a couple weeks ago that he got the okay to go on the other ones. Maybe the studio was like, yeah, we know we said 2 billion, but like it looks like you're gonna get there, so we'll give you the head start and
I think
Mhm.
run with it.
maybe. I would say originally I said that I thought 2 might do pretty well, but then after that, people are going to realize how like nothing these movies are outside of the visuals, and 3 wouldn't do so well. But they actually left like a something of a story hook for 3.
Yeah, in the
So
same way that a wrestling rivalry leaves a story hook.
yeah, so I feel like it could possibly uh, do better than it ought to, based on that.
Yeah, to not sound like a hypocrite or anything, because I know we railed on this movie a lot, but I guess I'm more interested in an Avatar 3 than I am interested in an Avatar 2 coming out of like Avatar 1. Like I didn't care for another one after the first
Interesting.
one. But now I kind of want more of this plot thread to be pulled to figure out the confirmation, because I heard a lot of like interesting fan theories that kind of check out. Most
Such as,
notable, yeah, the most
yeah.
interesting one I think was the the Navi aren't from Pandora, and they are actually from an ancient like race that um, sapped their planet of all its resources and created this AI that would not allow them to do that and sent them to a new planet.
So you're telling me they're going to go for there is a creator race of ancient technology that directed the growth path of many smaller civilizations.
There's no
Well,
engineers involved
well,
here,
I
or
thought maybe like
architects, or
they
whatever.
to save their own race, they like like made them forget about their planet and then just said, okay, go live on this other planet and start from scratch, but don't make the same mistakes we did by like destroying our planet of the natural resources. Um,
They broke their star forge down. They sent
yeah,
anyone else to live on the planet.
which I thought is really like kind of preachy and over the top, but it's exactly what
I'm,
James Cameron would do.
yeah, that's what I was,
Which is
that's
like,
been his MO.
exactly say what we're all thinking about, sapping the earth of its resources and possibly being our own demise. So,
Just
you know,
you
yeah,
know,
what are you
maybe
gonna
if
do?
they showed Earth, that would be interesting. I don't know. I don't. Well, it's gonna happen, and we're gonna fucking sit through it. So strap in. That's all I gotta say about this.
Megan Compton
M3 Gan.
second,
And it's gonna get a
21.6
sequel,
million
and I hope they
dollars.
name it M. Tugan. They greenlit it because this movie, since this was Blumhouse, right?
Yeah,
I
It-
don't know. I'm not. I
I
don't.
thought it was.
No, it's
Oh, Universal.
well,
well,
Blumhouse is owned by
on
Universal.
Oh,
yeah,
never mind. Blech.
I'm not
well,
sure if it was Blumhouse or not.
whatever the case, this is a classic. They they made the smart move and they said, "All right, here's we're gonna make another one of these cheapo horror movies." And this one had a interesting enough premise that they can spin it off into a bunch more. Um, and it's what I guess it's what the people want. They're just like, hey, just give me another horror series I can just watch 50 sequels of.
It's $100 million maker for Universal. Puss in Boots is in third with $18.9 million in its fourth week. That's made $206 million, also for Universal. So Universal's having itself a pretty good month. Man Called Otto from Colombia finds itself in fourth, $15 million. Plane opens in fifth with $11.8 million in just a hair over 3,000 theaters. Bringing
Thank
its
you, Lionsgate.
total gross is $15.3 million, but it does earn the distinct honor of finding itself in our spotlight.
Or spoot loot.
So
That's true. Let's loot
see,
that spoot.
Let's see what some real people have to say about this very real movie that is definitely not an SNL sketch that went too far.
It's a fake movie trailer that they made into a whole movie. Let's do it. Let's talk about these these real ass
Mr.
reviewers.
Adamson has nice things to say about Plane. He gives it a 10 out of 10. Less CGI, more real action. Love it. I like to see real action movie and not CGI saturated 3D cartoon, which is most modern movies are also plot is good and acting is awesome. Trying to read it as punctuated.
Of course.
It's good action movie to watch and enjoying the acting, the special effects, the stunts. That's a paragraph, and that paragraph's over now. Less CGI, more real action. Hyphen love it. This kind of movie anyone can watch after sometimes maybe though streaming platform after watching a movie. The plot is interesting and will keep you entertained. Sure, some stuff is less realistic, but most of it look real, especially nowadays when everything is possible and anything can happen, and even movies not able to keep up with real life.
Oh no. He's slipping behind. His life's pretty out of control. If Plane is it's not as crazy as real life.
0 out of 0 found that helpful. Disappointingly.
Damn it! I would have thought at least one person would have been like, no.
I feel like this one's underrated. Everyone, get out there, get out the vote.
Get out the vote.
Aiden's
get out and go, Pokemon. Pokemon, go to the polls. Go, Pokemon, go to the IMDb user reviews and upvote this one. This one doesn't need too much. They're sitting at a good 8. 8 people found it helpful, which is fine. That's good enough. 1 out of 10. Richardana, easily predictable and cliched treatment of natives. Yay.
Okay. I did not expect that one.
Yeah. I didn't expect the natives part. I forgot what the trailer was about, so I don't really remember what even goes on in the fucking Plane movie. A very predictable plot where, once again, Western culture is the hero and the native Philippines are the savage and money-grabbing killers. Gerard Butler has become the mark of low-quality movies. Butler has only one note, and not all believable when he's trying to show his loving father side. The special effects are bad and hilarious at times. You literally can see the part where the animation is like cartoon. The fighting and shooting sequence are boring and don't always make sense, where all the protagonist shots will hit, while the idiotic natives would amazingly miss all their shots. 8 out of 31 found that helpful. Well, don't be bad, natives. Dumb natives.
Just get good, kid.
Yeah.
Peter and his Snuggie in full view here.
Absolutely. Any day of the week, except for most days of the week. Saturday only. Thank you very much. From CDCRB, I've seen that name before. He's another regular I'm seeing around here. Their 6 out of 10 review. Deplane.
Datu.
Hey, it's Gerard Butler. You know from the get-go that whatever happens for the next 2 hours, you'll come out of it okay. He's a pilot, and when the airplane gets struck by lightning, things go very wrong, and we end up on an island inhabited by gorillas, not the King Kong ones. The stranded passengers aren't as obnoxious as the usual characters in these kinds of movies, and there's no love story for our hero. At least not the kind you expect. Lots of daring do. It's basic movie making, but not bad. Just not better than that. Tony Goldwyn, usually a bad guy, not one here. Nice change. Go relax and have fun. 2 out of 4.
You know, that was a good review.
That was a good one.
I review that review at a 10.
Oh.
Look at the review where we review the reviews.
Dude, we should give our own star ratings for these reviews.
A third reading, our own reviews.
All right. From the book of Secret Happy, chapter 58, verse 7, line 23. Gerard Butler is kick-ass. This movie is awesome. A must-see. Yes, everything you want in the movie. Thrills, suspense, and wonderful ending. Satisfies your every need. Gerard Butler is genuine and kick-ass. Amazing cast. The best part is it has the 90s vibe going on with classic old-fashioned action sequences without any of the modern cheesy explosions, computer-generated graphics, or unnecessary plot fillers that make a movie drag. You're literally gripping onto your seat the whole time and actually feel like you're one of the passengers on this flight and you want Gerald Butler to be your pilot. Handsome. Stealth. Calm in a storm. And leading everyone to safety. Handsome. Kissable. Clapping and enjoying every moment as he kicks some serious ass. You won't be disappointed. So kissable. This movie is what you need on a dark, cold, and dreary winter. The itch. You just want to scratch. Go see it now.
That was
you want Gerard Butler to be your pilot. Ellipses. Handsome.
Handsome. I need to see this review. Let me find this shit. It's a 10?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Peter, you didn't plan on doing any 4 or 3-star reviews?
I've got a 5 out of 10 here.
Okay,
Jake,
cool.
are you trying to insinuate that you do not have your reviews prepared at the start of the show?
No, I never prepare my reviews at the beginning. So I just do 1 out of 10s, and usually they're all the same. Some racist bigotry, but this time I ran out of 1 stars. There's no 2 stars, so I got to go to 3. And this one isn't that interesting, so I decided to look at 4 just now.
That's good.
And it's a bit longer, and it might be a little bit better.
Well, we're waiting.
Nah, I got to go with 3. I got to do the worst, the bottom tier. That's what I'm here. I'm the bottom feeder.
This is your purpose, Jake.
Well, because I feel if I read 4, we're getting too many middling reviews.
Yeah, so Jake's domain is 1, 2, and 3. Just as mine is 10, 9, and 8. Peter's is everything else.
Yeah. That 4 is encroaching on Peter's territory. So I will leave that to him if he wants to check out that 4. It's not great.
No, I've got a good one.
Okay, good.
Well, believe me, I
we
did my
prepared before the show.
3 out of 10. A movie with nothing new to offer by JP91. Plane, quote, is the first film production to be released in theaters this 2023, and the result is not favorable. Quote, Plane does not offer anything new. A recycled script full of cliches and predictable scenes. It only becomes interesting during the first minutes in terms of the plane sequences that are reminiscent of disaster genre movies. The performances do their job without any additional merit. Plus, the director's work seems barely to exist. The cinematography is conventional without any appeal. The soundtrack goes completely unnoticed. The action scenes are bland, and in some scenes, the digital effects are quite unreal. A bad movie that fails to take off. 3 out of 8. Found that helpful. Yeah.
It's okay.
Sorry I don't got any juice for you this time.
Don't worry. I got one to finish us off here. Got one. Oh, loving it. From Petrolin231-10939. Their 5 out of 10 review. Only for Butler fans. Script clearly not written by airplane pilots.
We're off to a great start.
A complete power failure. and flight instrument backups, not the least suspension of disbelief. Cell phones working, but no one using built-in Corpus, let alone GPS signals. Heads rolled and 50 cal gun explosively drilling through cars and trucks. One hero vanishes with the money, but we don't know where or how. Editing allows rescue crew to parachute in to help rescue survivors. All in all, don't pay attention to any of flaws, editing. Where did I lose it? There. And at times, silly dialogue. Sit back and enjoy spending an afternoon entertained as only Gerard Butler can do with a grimace and a smile. 0 out of 2. Oh,
Nice.
it's a crisp finish.
That's plain, baby.
That's plain. Clear script clearly not written by airplane pilots.
No, typically that's done by Hollywood screenwriters.
The entire script had to be. All right, so we involve a plane in our movie. So here's our plane expert to write the entire script.
You can write all Gerard Butler's lines.
A house party. Hot on plane's heels, except they're worlds apart. But it opened in 6 and 1,400 theaters, bringing in $4.6 million for Warner Brothers and their beleaguered financial fortunes.
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther Wakanda Forever. It finds itself in 7th in its 10th week, $3 million for that. The Whale finds itself in 8th in 1,500 theaters, $1.9 million. Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, is in 9th with $1.42 million from TriStar. And Walter Viraya opened in 350 theaters, bringing in $1.2 million to round out the top 10. The story between a fisherman and his friend, egoistic ACP Vikram Sagar's IPS, who stops Viraya from smuggling goods. I think that's supposed to be egotistic, but it's clearly misspelled.
Yes, I guess.
ACP Vikram Sagar IPS. So he's Interpol, I guess.
It's Indian cop movie.
Yeah.
Wait, another one?
And Skinamarink finally
Skinamarink
in 11th. I believe I've heard of this before.
I have too. I heard a lot of I don't know. Every now and then you'll find a movie that goes viral for being the scariest new movie to be released, and people who aren't paid to make those videos usually watch them and say it's not that great. And what I've heard is it's like watching paint dry in its truest form, because it's one of those found footage movies where it literally just shows walls and you hear creepy sounds in the background.
Okay.
Blair Witch style, baby.
Yeah.
Do they also have green screen, or not green screen, but infrared fucking scopes of the audience freaking out in their seats?
Oh shit! If this was a bigger movie, probably, because that was the what was the
Paranormal Activity.
Paranormal Activity did that. Yeah, they were big on that. They were like, "This is our bread and butter, baby."
And just clearly hamming it up. Yeah, they need to bring that shit back for commercials for these things. Bring that back.
Theaters are open. They're they can't pay people enough to fill a theater like they did in those videos.
Yeah, it's just one person kind of in the corner back here, and you can't even see their face.
And there's always the dude that throws his popcorn up in the air.
Yeah,
it's popcorn's too expensive
no
to do that.
No one's ever done that before.
No, nobody's ever done that. At least not on purpose. You trip and fall and drop your popcorn. That happens. But
yeah, I don't think you're jumping so hard that the popcorn's flying that far in the air. No.
If anything, I grab my popcorn closer.
It's bullshit, and it's unrealistic, and we're
Yeah.
going to talk about gaming news.
We're gaming, gentlemen.
Let's game.
I've got a couple stories and then a game review. Marvel's Avengers won't be supported after September, so a scant 2 years, actually not even quite 2 years since its release. Squeenix is dropping it like a bad habit. And yet these live service games keep continuing to be a thing. Like Gotham Knights, and I think Marvel's Midnight Suns is kind of like the exact same sort of thing.
Just
Yet
the same
they
shit.
somehow...
Yeah. Did we talk about Stadia?
Well, we've known Stadia's going to die. They just released the
Right.
tool to unlock the Bluetooth controller.
What?
So previously you couldn't use the Bluetooth controller on any other Bluetooth device. It was locked to Stadia. So they released a tool to update the firmware to allow it to be used on every other
Oh, that's nice.
Bluetooth device.
See, I knew Stadia was a good
solution
product.
to a problem that shouldn't have existed.
No, I agree with you, but at least they do. At least they did a somewhat responsible thing and prevented however many Stadia controllers are out there from becoming e-waste.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were getting too much flack for like trying to get returns and shit. But yeah, that's good. At least you can use your Stadia controller as a normal one.
Yeah, Yeah. Stadia's finally kicked it this week, so.
Yeah, it's
Or
it's
was it
officially
last
no
week?
more. But we've known about its death.
Yeah.
Well, it was dead on arrival, let's be honest. But
Mhm.
known about its official death for some time now.
Yeah, I like to see like why. I wonder why it failed as hard as it did.
Because
Maybe.
it's a terrible like value proposition. Like it worked infrequently.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't have really good internet and live physically very close to one of the servers, like your performance would be shit. You had to pay full price for the games you played on it.
Yeah.
Like it
Like
was just a bad idea from the start.
It doesn't sound like it's. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of like really big hurdles to get over. Like you would almost need to. I mean, one, perfect the connection software. I almost you need to like have it local. You couldn't really play too many online games. You'd have to turn it into basically one of those
I
like
don't
1,000 games in one.
I don't think
those
our
like
internet infrastructure is good enough for viable cloud gaming yet.
well, in that it also seemed like it was almost being directed towards people who like didn't have the capability to go out and buy an Xbox or a whole PC or something like that. And it's like if you don't have enough money for a whole ass Xbox and shit like that, what makes you think that they're going to have enough money to have good enough internet and Wi-Fi
Yeah, exactly.
to support Stadia?
And like to get good quality streaming was extra on top of that. There's a lot of things that were bad with Stadia, and it's really not a surprise that it failed. Speaking of things going away, Microsoft will stop selling Windows 10 licenses this month. So get your gray market $30 Windows
boy.
10 key while you can, because the supply is going to be drying up pretty soon. We'll all have to move to Windows 11, which is functionally 98% the same.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like whatever. I feel like they did reasonable due diligence and cleaned up the issues that everyone had from the beginning.
Yeah, it's pretty much fine. The only complaint I have with Windows 11 is the having to click the show more options to get the full like control panel when you right click on the desktop. But there's a setting I think you can tweak to make that happen. but really everything else you can summon the task manager by right-clicking the taskbar again now. Everything else works functionally the same. It just has a little bit more visual tweak, and your icons are centered in your taskbar, which I like that design language better personally. But other than that, it's largely the same, and it works well. But
Yep.
not well enough to save 10,000 jobs at Microsoft,
No,
mostly
sir.
in their Xbox division. So huge layoffs happened. A lot of 343 in particular were let go.
Because I think they were. I mean, I'm sure they were banking on Halo Infinite to be like a fucking smash success.
Yeah.
And when it did just okay,
Well,
they were. I feel like they counted that as falling short.
I've been like half paying attention to like Halo Infinite's like drops, and they're not coming out with enough content to like make it fresh and like a new gaming experience. I think that's what people want. And their competitive scene is
I think
not.
they wanted a game that was finished at release.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
Don't we
nowadays we're getting the bits and pieces of the rest of the game. Because they didn't have Forge, they didn't have like multiplayer. There's a whole mess of issues upon release of that game. But the other thing we need to like Fortnite continues to be this ever present like beast of a game, and I think part of the reason is that it constantly remakes itself and brings in different IP and different DLC that people can get, and a new color palette for your armor and like a symbol, that ain't it. Like the stuff that they're coming out with is almost laughable, to the point where you have to grind hours and hours to get a new color scheme for your armor, where they tried to sell it as this the most customizable Halo ever in the world that has ever come out with, and it's not that at all.
Nope.
In theory, it could be if you spent all this money.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, if you spend, I don't know what they came out with they found what was like $2,500 or something like that. If you spent all that money on the game, you could unlock everything, but that's not what people want. People want something to grind for. They want something to actually play and unlock.
I remember in Modern Warfare 2, you got weapon camos for getting headshots with the weapon.
Yeah, what was wrong with that? I don't understand. And even, the new Modern Warfare 2 is similar to that, where they're doable. They're doable achievements. You can get the skins, and it feels like you're accomplishing something. And they did something different with their weapon upgrade system, which is actually not terrible. But I don't know. It's just the same game modes over and over again, and the maps aren't fresh enough to make me feel like I want to come back and play and play and play. And the competitive scene is fine if you're into that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not surprised that Infinite's taken a toll. I just wish they did more. It seems like they could have done more to release stuff. And maybe it's just people getting overworked, or maybe it's something from higher up that they're telling them to hold back content to monetize it later. I don't know.
If they are, that's not a winning strat.
I think it's probably more the latter than the former.
Much like these. Jake, I'm gonna say 3 letters to you, and I want you to go on a rant. Okay, I'm gonna say your trigger phrase, or maybe it's 6 letters. DND OGL.
Oh my god. That's right. That was another big technically gaming news, which I wasn't finding.
I mean, it is more video gaming than you think, because it's related to an online subscription now.
Well, yeah. Right? A lot of D&D is moving towards online. I just played D&D last night, so I am. I've talked to a couple people who I work with as well that are in tune with it. I'll be honest. I haven't really read into a lot of the stuff, but I've heard a lot of the responses, and I've looked into a good amount of it. So basically, I guess a long time ago, back at old Wizards of the Coast, who owns D&D, they made an open game license or something where they didn't have an open game license. It was just 1.0. They said you can
make
use our
content.
content,
Yeah.
take our
'Cause-
D&D rule set and apply it to whatever you want. Put your own skin on it, sell it, make money, go crazy. And that was wonderful because it was able to all these different micro communities to put their own spin on D&D, sell their products, get people into D&D, and before you knew it, it was all over the place in
So-
different forms.
Question. So this applies not just to things like Critical Role, which are media bait, they use D&D, but also to things like supplement books and things that are meant to supplement D&D, right?
Supplemental books, anything that may use like the D&D logo
characters,
or franchise,
logos, or name.
characters, even like stuff that's like trademark, like they're I don't know if you can like trademark wizard or like sorcery, but like warlock
So,
and like
They're gonna
spell
try.
names.
They would try if they could.
So like I'll say this for example. So like spell cards. If you don't like the thing that Wizards of the Coast provides, or it's too expensive, another company can sell spell cards that are more affordable or a different type. Maybe they're more expensive, but they're better quality. And it's basically taking Wizards IP and copying it essentially, and then selling it for a profit. So that has existed in D&D for ages, and there has been. I don't know if it was an actual contract.
4th edition, it went to a closed game license, and there was a lot of backlash to it. So this isn't the first time in like super recent history that this has been attempted or happened.
Yeah, and then they came out with 5th edition. I'm not super familiar with the exact
I just
timeline
watched a
of things.
Legal Eagle video on this the other day.
Yeah. So there's also something with like the rules. Like the rules aren't exclusive to the game, but like a pamphlet might. So you can like they allowed people to like copy the rules and make their own stuff out of it. But essentially there was this contract or this written clause or something, or this agreement that said we're never going to like force monetization or force royalties on anybody. We're going to have this game license where everybody can use it and it's open source. And then they recently, I think it was like 2 weeks ago or something like that, there was a leak from inside the company that came out with the Open Game License 1.1, an update that basically said, we have to start monetizing D&D better, and part of that was to any companies that are making $750,000 of profit, or no, revenue have to give like a 25% royalties check to Wizards of the Coast, and that will cripple small companies,
because it's
and
revenue.
these are essentially this is revenue. This isn't
Not
profit.
Yeah,
this isn't profit. That was revenue. That was everything you make off of it before you account for labor and supplies and all that. And a lot of times those have really tight margins because they're smaller companies. They're paying more for specialty work, and they're also not as much volume. So like think of a small company that's only making like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 of a product and selling it for $100 a piece. It's like they're not making all that much money on it because it has to be affordable to the community. They have to pay their workers, and they're probably doing low volume of supplies. So like the profit in that is probably pretty small.
Yeah,
and
for
25% would kill companies.
Yeah. Like at this point, like 75,000 is, I don't know about you, Jake. I feel it's like it's maybe a medium bit more than what we make as like salary right now. That's a pretty good, a fairly good regular salary. So like one person's yearly takings. So if you have like a company that has like that needs to support 2 or more people, you're already like fucking over that. Like, so, if you're making dice towers, right? Like
It's
Like you said, Jake, like a high
750,000.
Yeah, 750.
750,000. Okay.
Yeah, 750,000.
I thought 75,000.
I was
No.
like, what the fuck are you on about?
No, but that's still, I mean, that's still, it's going to hit
Yeah,
a lot of
moderately
essentially
sized
small.
companies will have to bear that. I think the intent behind that figure was that like people running shit out of their Etsy shop wouldn't get hit by it, but there are a lot of, intermediary companies and maybe even some larger like game stores that would have to bear the brunt of this. So it's not great, but at the same time it was a courtesy that was being extended by the rights holders to this property.
Sure, but it was also helping them. Like there's the big argument there is like, yeah, it was something that they didn't need to do, and it's kind of unique to them. But that's also, you could argue, why D&D became so popular as it is because it was available to so many people, and
And
it wasn't
apparently
closed off.
they're willing to make the counter argument that this was better for their bottom line.
And the community has spoken, and the community outcry has been crazy and loud. A lot of companies kind of pushing back and saying, okay, well, we're going to stop like selling your product, we're going to stop all business altogether. Really prominent companies too that I've seen at PAX Unplugged, that have like a big support system and a big fan base. There are some big companies like Critical Role who have kind of kept quiet about this. It seems like if you're working directly with Wizards of the Coast, you really haven't said much.
You don't bite the hand that feeds, no.
Exactly. And you probably can't. There's probably some NDAs out there that they can't really,
I'm sure
go
Talk
against
openly
what it
about
was.
these kind of politics, quote unquote.
privately, I'm sure most share the philosophy that the creator of the game shared, that no one person should own Dungeons and Dragons. But at the same time, because of the way the legal system in this country works, an entity does own Dungeons and Dragons.
But the best way to protest this, probably, and I think the right thing that they did was, garner all the support and kind of hit Wizards of the Coast where it hurts the most, and that was through their pocketbooks. And you saw a large amount of people end up canceling their subscription to D&D Beyond, and apparently that's where they make a lot of revenue from. So
I would imagine, because like D&D, it's kind of a weird thing where like it seems like it is the least reliant thing on like officially put out merchandise.
Because
Like
what
most of the
at
content's
core,
user generated.
yeah, what they sell at the core is a system, and a system,
A set of
once
rules.
it's out there, is
You
very
could,
easily transmittable.
it's very easy to see, a world where we call it dragoons and dungans.
Yeah, oubliettes and ostriches.
Well, yeah, and they don't have to update it all the time. They just have to come out with a rules update every once in a while. We've been playing 5e for years now, and nothing's really changed to it. The only thing that's come out with the different modules and different like playbooks, like Tasha's Cauldron, the Menagerie of Monsters. So like there's different groups of items that they can come out with, and they even do like supplemental sets where they put in Magic the Gathering. They brought in Critical Role and brought in their universe even to it, where you can have kind of collaborations and IP crossovers with that. So that's essentially all that they're coming out with for new content and miniatures. Dice and everything that's bland generic whatevers, and everything else is supplemental like pieces of that make life easier when you're playing D&D. That's like the side companies that are applying accessories for that Wizards of the Coast really doesn't deal with all that. So I can't imagine they're probably not making a ton of money off of it, but they're also not spending a lot of money on it. It's just this IP thing that is possibly a whale, or but it's got to be a gentle dance where if they try to milk this big cash cow of D&D too much, they're going to kill it. And if they strangle it too much, like they almost did with the open game license 1.1, they could drive a lot of people away from it, which they almost did. And it seems like they've reversed part of their decision.
But on the other
With
hand,
them.
they've also said, like, but not really. We're gonna
Yeah,
keep going
yeah.
forward with this because it's a business thing, and business people just kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, I mean they want the line to go up, but Hasbro right now needs to rise its stock because it's not doing so hot, and they're going to lean on their profitable IPs. We see the same thing happening with Magic, and they're not really focused on the long-term health of these things so much as they are on their short-term.
Yeah, and
concerns.
that sucks. It's like they're gonna milk like a lot of the initial profit off of this, and then not really care what happens next year, and then now they're not gonna have like the budget to make a new book or whatever 6th edition if they ever do come out with that.
I think D&D is one of those things that will be eternal if
Yeah.
whatever company fails, or a spiritual successor that's functionally identical will rise up and take its place.
Well, D&D is one of those unique things where you don't need the servers to be running. You don't need um you don't need the latest and greatest books. A lot of people are happy with 5e. A lot of people are happy with 3.5. So you have different options to play D&D and different like sort of rule sets. And if that's how you want to play, that's how you want to play. Nobody's forcing you to play one thing or the other. And it's not like you can homebrew shit. You can make your own character. You can go on a Reddit post and find out builds and rule clarifications on certain things, and the rest is up to you guys. That's what the magic of D&D is. It's you can just do it in your kitchen at your kitchen table with some paper and some
Do it
books.
on the kitchen counter.
You can do it on the couch. Like it can be done anywhere. And yeah,
You can do it.
that's really
down.
all there is to it. We'll wait
You
for
do
more updates.
2 or 3 or 4 people at a time.
All right, so I got a little bit of a game review before we get into our feature presentation, and today we're going to be talking about Rogue Legacy 2. Rogue Legacy 2.
The legacy of the legacy.
So Rogue Legacy came out in 2013, and I can't confidently say it invented the roguelite genre, but it was certainly the first game that kind of brought it to more wide attention. And I played that game because it seemed kind of neat, and it was very hard to get a footing in. It was kind of clunky, rough around the edges a little bit. The early game balancing wasn't so good. You were basically like 2 hits and you were dead at the beginning, and you couldn't get very far. And how it goes, you're exploring a castle. Every time you die, your heir takes over in the quest to fight the 4, or in the new one, the 6 bosses, and open the gate in the castle and take your story-based reward. And while a lot of people liked Rogue's Legacy, I found it kind of hard to get into, and it was like 8-bit, really low-budget, indie-rific stuff. Fast forward about a decade, and Rogue's Legacy 2 comes out, and it basically takes everything the original did well, takes great strides to smoothing out the early game difficulty and adding in a lot more movement options, and creates simultaneously one of the funner roguelites to play, with a huge variety and diversity of character classes that all function differently, have their own strengths and weaknesses. And you can go on to the subreddit, and there will be 8 people. You ask 8 people what your favorite class is, you'll probably get 6 or 7 different answers. It really kind of fits to how you like to play the game, more so than, yes, there's an objectively best class. So you go around, you earn your gold. There's other things now, like ore and blood for runes and armor and weapon upgrades. it is one of the grindier roguelites out there, so you will spend a lot of time with it, but you'll probably enjoy the time you spend with it because it looks beautiful. Like everything's beautifully drawn. It has wonderful 2D sprites. It's the first game I've really played through start to finish on my new OLED monitor, and it looked fantastic. The platforming is super precise, super fun to play around with. It's one of the best platformers I've played in a long time, and that's not even its primary intent. The bosses are all unique and interesting. They're tough but fair, and the whole game is tough but fair. Whereas the last game I felt was a little less fair about the difficulty. But I've been plugging away at this for a while, and I've beaten the final boss, and it was a fun ride, and there was a lot of cool things in it. One of the fun experiences of playing the game is that each air you play, you make progress on every run, and sometimes you make a lot more progress than you were expecting. You beat that boss by the skin of your teeth, and you find some health pickups, and you go like all the way through the next area, and that kind of that person you played is memorialized in your hallway, and as you're walking down the hallway, you're like, oh yeah. In my case, I had a character, Timothy II, and he did really good work. And then when I finally beat the game, ironically enough, it turned out that it was Timothy III who was my heir when I beat the game. So that family line had a wonderful history, and they're both legends, and it's kind of cool that sort of stuff goes in. But at the end of the day, the gameplay is super fun, super easy to pick up and play. Lots of room to get good and master certain things, and there's a lot of extra content that I haven't even really gotten a chance to dive into yet. But just playing through the main progression of the story, it's good, and it's like $25. It's a great deal. It looks amazing. I think it's on pretty much all the major platforms right now. I played it on PC. Plays great on a controller. I would recommend it on a controller if you're going to play on PC. But it has some really tight controls, really fun gameplay, really good depth in terms of different classes and different spells and how everything kind of interacts together. And if you know how I feel about roguelites, I think they're the perfect game for, bite-sized sessions that you often find yourself having as an adult. And Rogue's Legacy 2 is definitely one of the finer examples of the genre.
Cool.
Nice.
And with that, let's talk about The Whale.
The Darren
Yeah. From director Darren Aronofsky, who brings you such films as Pi, Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, and Black Swan, comes a movie that is not a ton like all those other movies, except in the fact that it is aggressively sad and technically not that great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's The Whale. So obviously, I mean, the reason we went to see this was because of Brendan Fraser, the Brenissance.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're big
the Brenissance
supporters of the Brenissance. In fact,
Brendan Fraser himself, he's doing the, it's almost the cliche of like the out of work actor, like having to do the crazy role to get back in the spotlight, but like it's real and it worked, I'd say, because there's no doubt that his performance in this was real good.
yeah, he was fantastic in this movie. Although I find myself wondering something I've often wondered about Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. Like, was the performance enhanced by your knowledge of the actor? Like, in Heath Ledger's case, you know that he was, like, unwell enough to take his own life. And in Brendan Fraser's case, you know the stuff he's been through, and you want good things for him. So when you see his character, you're kind of projecting that sympathy onto his character a little bit, or at least I was. because Charlie doesn't do a whole lot in the movie to like win you over, other than struggling with obesity. But I felt very sympathetic and protective of the character.
I would say that the kind of context regarding Brendan Fraser, it was for me maybe just like seasoning. Honestly, I can say that like on a strict like objective, as objective as you can get in these things, he just had a good performance, and that was
Oh
what
no, I'm
really did
not
for
saying
me.
it wasn't good, but
No, like yeah. So I guess to talk about it, like so I here's my fucking soundbite for this. Um, the Whale is the cinematic opposite of Black Adam. Because this movie right?
I'm intrigued.
Go on.
So a lot of what we criticized the Rock's performance in Black Adam was that he didn't put any effort in, and they shot him from like the chest up, so he would have to put even less effort into his performance. But for all the reasons that kind of failed, like the Whale succeeded because it's obviously the costume is a mix of prosthetic, and I have to assume some amount of CGI. I don't think Brendan Fraser is 8 feet tall.
Yeah, like how tall is he supposed to be in this movie? Because
it's a great effect because like he, so whenever he draws himself up to his full height, he's like a fucking monster. It's crazy.
I heard the fat suit that he wore was 300 pounds.
If that's true, that's ridiculous. That's crazy.
That's a lot of prosthetic. That's a lot of stuff. There are elements of that, like the fingers. Like even his fingers were fat. Like, did he have to wear gloves?
I would assume so.
That's why I don't know. I don't know how much of it was prosthetic and how much was CG. But anyway, so a lot of this movie, like a lot of the really good parts of this movie, are when they just leave the camera on Brendan Fraser's face, and they just say, "Do the thing, act with all your face," and he uses like 110% of his face to express like 7 different emotions at the same time. And he's like staring off into the distance with them steely blue eyes, and he's got like his eyebrows are working overtime, and his face is doing everything. I'm just like, oh my god, his character is thinking things. There's a world of emotion inside him at the moment.
Yeah,
they do it a few times, and every time I'm like, yes, I just show me. Like, let me watch Brendan Fraser make faces. It's so good.
Yeah, to build off that was one thing that really stood out to me was the amount of times you could see just his expressions kind of portray certain responses to things going around around him. Like even when he would eat, like he did this a couple times when he would like go into these like almost like hypnotic states of like eating
binge
food.
Trance?
The binge trance. Like you could see that he like turned into a different person, and that was like his body language changed, his facial expression changed, even not responding to Liz, who like everybody's giving Brendan Fraser a lot of praise. One of the first things I heard was like Sadie Sink didn't really do that great, and yeah, when you have like a one-dimensional character, it's hard to really like give that great of a performance that's moving.
They straight up just wrote a tsundere into this movie,
especially when you have like the tonal adjacent character of Brendan Fraser's character,
or the foil, I guess is the word, right?
Yeah, he's like the foil. He's also just like just complex, and there's layers to him. He has that anger, he has that cynicism, but just for himself. He has that positivity. He has that kind of that low sadness because he's like facing death. Like that's kind of one of the first things that jumps out to you in this movie is that for the entirety of this movie, he is facing death in the face, and he is kind of having to come to terms with that.
And really frustrated watching it because he has the facilities to take steps to save himself, but doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, not only the facilities, but also like the character. You want to save him as a character because they set him up in the beginning as a likable person. Like his interactions with Liz,
I think that's the kicker, right? I guess
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about spoilers because we got to talk about like the character and
Yeah.
stuff
So
too.
I gotta, in brief, I'm not gonna disagree with the consensus you've likely heard at this point that Brendan Fraser's really good, but the movie around him kind of sucks.
It's very clear that this was adapted like really directly from a stage play.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously the set, right? That's
Yeah.
just they filmed it the same way that you would set up a play, which is that you have the nice one set. This not just a play, but like kind of an artsy Broadway play where you have the one set, and a lot of it is two characters doing dialogue, and then one of the characters goes away, and two other characters come and do dialogue, and they have their scenes together. And there are even some blocking choices in the movie where it's almost comes off as stilted because it feels like they're reading lines and they're trying to like project to an audience.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but also like that makes a lot of sense now that you put it as like in the context of a stage play, because and I didn't know if this was like a choice that Darren Aronofsky made like consciously to say, okay, now you're gonna get up from this chair and walk to the other side of the room, and then you say your line, and then you're gonna walk to the other side of the room, say your line, and then sit down, and then you're gonna do he repeated that same thing. I kind of just got that as like maybe uh, a opposing viewpoint of somebody who's like sitting and can't move around very easily, so he has to give his dialogue from this position and mainly this position for the entirety of the movie, while they can move around all across the house and use up all the space. But in the end, it kind of felt like I was watching a play where these characters have to use the stage and use the entirety of what they're given to make their performance and make it even better. That was just something I noticed, that like maybe to back that up is like it felt a lot like a stage play, and also just the setting of it was one location, one shot. They never went outside except for on the porch scene.
And it was a
Did anyone else?
It was okay. It was adapted from a book into a stage play and then into the movie.
Did anyone else like have their heart break a little when you saw that he lived on a second floor like walk up apartment?
Oh yeah, that was excellent.
Yeah, that was
like, oh no.
There was a lot of like irony and ironic things that kind of put that into perspective. That was wild.
So yeah, I would say go watch this just watch all the Brendan Fraser scenes. I don't know if how much the context of the scenes themselves gives weight to his performance.
I would wait.
I think
I would wait to see this at home, though. I don't think this is worth the trip to the theater.
Yeah, definitely not like it doesn't need to be a theatrical one that you watch, but
thank you, Darren, for not putting this on streaming, because you're like a purist and you gotta go see it in the theater. You gotta, even though we put it in 4x3, you gotta see it in the theater.
Okay, I was gonna ask that, like, because I got stuck in like the last theater in Crossgates, and I was wondering if just like the aspect ratio adjustment drapes didn't work because it was such a shitty theater. But nope, no, okay, it's in 4x3.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to see it on the big screen. Why put on streaming? Come on now. Yeah, that's I mean that's mainly my thoughts on it.
Were you expecting an IMAX release for The Whale?
Do we want to do spoilers, or Jake? What?
Yeah. Jump into spoilers. So, I keep on forgetting his name.
I'll start it out. This motherfucker can fucking eat a sandwich. This motherfucker can go in on those binge scenes. Like, those were nuts.
Yeah,
Charlie.
Like, it was it was interesting because they only dipped their toe into it a couple of times for most of the movie, and then the scene where he's like at his lowest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is he just going to try to eat himself to death right now? And he has that really uncomfortable to watch. Like, I think I looked away at a couple points scene with the pizzas and all the other shit.
The classic binge and purge.
Well, I was like, oh, dude, ranch on pizza is so good though. I felt really bad. Like, yeah, that sounds good, but maybe not 2 slices at once.
But
Yeah, that was
fucking,
rough.
that image in my mind of him taking the one slice and then slapping it on top of the other slice and taking both and double decker, like that's seared into my mind.
Well, and the other thing to
I
note,
see it in my nightmares.
the other thing to note about it while I was watching that was like, you kind of realize he's not just eating because things are tasting good. Yeah, I don't think he's eating because he's hungry. He's just eating to eat. Like he's not the stuff that he was making was just like, how can I put the most stuff of food into my body at once? He's putting chips on a peanut butter and jelly, and he doesn't care. He's just engorging himself.
I think no one gets that big. No one lets themselves get that big just because they have a healthy appetite or whatever. Like you're eating to try to fill a hole in yourself.
Yeah.
If you get to that point, and
I've heard people being like, "Oh, this movie is like exploitative for fat people, or it's fat phobic." It's like this is not that.
No, I mean
this is a step beyond.
No, you take 1 minute to browse TLC. That's exploitative.
600-pound life.
You have the 600-pound life,
sisters.
1,000-pound sisters who have made money, and TLC is making money off of these people who have these debilitating diseases and mental health problems that can't get help or that don't want to get help. And all we can do is care about the fact that she said something funny or she mispronounced something. And, we're going to zoom in on that gut of hers and then see how low that hangs. Instead, this movie, doesn't exploit it, but kind of shows us the ugly, honest truth, which is a big premise of this movie, and says, look, this is what people are struggling with. And, the reasons may vary. Here's one of them. And, it kind of just boils down to, like what Kurt said, filling that void that is missing from them. And in some cases, it might be the boyfriend missing, dying, and that depression, or the family being like gone from their life. I think it was a culmination of a lot of different things that happened to Charlie. The boyfriend dying and committing suicide, the fact that he realized probably that he's never going to see his daughter again because he threw that away kind of when he chose his life, because everybody in this movie is like flawed, internally flawed,
because we say we want to save him, but like we were leaving out the part where he cheated on his wife for a dude, and like left his wife and kid,
and the entire time he's like justifying it too. He justifies the fact that
that's kind of where I wonder how much is projected from our personal feelings of Brendan Fraser, because the movie does not go to great lengths to make Charlie seem like a great person.
Well,
you feel bad for him because of his obesity and the challenges it presents, and he generally
is a gentle soul. Like he's a really gentle and vulnerable dude.
That's what I mean. But that just kind of shows that like even gentle people, even people who you might want to empathize with and sympathize with, they may also not be completely in the right. He's not the worst character. He's probably the best character in terms of like who's going to be good or not. I mean, you may look at Liz and see that she's like
the least baggage.
Yeah, but Liz is like out of guilt helping Charlie take care of himself when he can't really take care of himself at this point. But who do you think was bringing her food? She's the enabler of the movie. You could also say that that his daughter was a kind soul, because she was actually the one to say, hey, let's try to get you help. We need to get you help. She's giving him the healthier food. She's giving him
like
trying to get him to walk,
challenging
him, and trying to like and being honest with him and being like, hey, you fucked us up. Like, why didn't you do all this? But at the end, like when you take it all away, she's still
she's
his daughter,
pretty
and
bad
she
person.
still loves him. she's a fucking terrible person with like really flawed judgment.
Like, I mean, you say
Um,
gave her some healthier food, but she used
she
that
also drugged
opportunity
her.
to drug him and nearly
Yeah.
killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um,
the
she's
there's
questionable.
mhm.
Yeah, like it
And I
seems
think
like
that's
every character in this movie is just there to like make you feel worse.
can we agree that the missionary kid is probably the shittiest,
He is,
just
and
as a character,
and
maybe not in
he
terms of the impact of his actions,
he also
because
doesn't seem necessary. You know, like I really feel like they didn't utilize a lot of the angles they could have with that character.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's weird because they've spent so
They
much
spend
time on
so
him,
much time on him, and it
and
really goes nowhere and has very little bearing on the story.
the only purpose is to show that, or I don't even know, because his daughter, Sadie Singh's character, um, kind of outs him and tries to show that he's like this terrible person that stole from his church. Ellie stole from the church and went off as he's selfish and yada 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 by posting it on Facebook. But in the end, that honesty, that truth that comes out ends up forcing him back home and having his family accept him, because you kind of can draw the parallel between him and Alan, Charlie's boyfriend who committed suicide, um, where he could have gone down a similar path. He could have been exiled by his family, by his church, and lost faith. And that was the only thing holding him to reality. And when there was nothing else left, he could have killed himself. So by Ellie's intervention and being that like brutal honesty and bring him back to his family, although in a very mean and bad
Well,
spirited
that's
way.
kind of the question: is like, what was her intent?
Yeah,
And Brandon Fraser, ever the optimist, wants his daughter to be a good person, so he's
exactly.
like, oh, he's just trying to help him. But the audience is kind of more inclined to think that she's just being a bitch.
Yeah, yeah. But that draws the kind of idea is that um, you know even if it was bad intent, the ends ended up kind of justifying that, or maybe not justifying that, but the end kind of worked out for the better. She may have
right.
inadvertently helped him, but she intended on hurting him. Um, I think they could have done better with that being applied to Charlie, because she just like fucking attacked him on Facebook
Yeah,
by
there's
saying
just
evil shit.
It's
no.
very it's very, like I said, the Japanese trope for this would be the tsundere, the person who like really who puts up an abrasive front, but has like they're doing it to hide their own feelings, which is deep down. It's very obvious, like it is deep down. She definitely does care, but she expresses it by just being a brat.
Well, she wants to be angry at him for walking out on them,
Yeah.
which is
Right, but
reasonable. But like, I just feel like a lot of the theming of this movie is really unfocused. Like I feel like
mhm.
it's trying to say a lot of different stuff, but in doing so, it really ends up saying nothing.
Yeah, it's like from what we've been talking about, right? How does that connect to the ending of the movie, which is to me like it doesn't seem to fit thematically with the rest of it, because like the other theme that was big for me was like, which I liked, was that Charlie's like his almost superpower. I don't know, like his big strength was that he was just super vulnerable with people, and he just said like it's the same like he could just he's so emotionally like padded at this point where he could just take anything anyone says, except for in the beginning where he just keeps apologizing and thinking that's going to help. But like at least his approach to everyone is just like, give it to me straight, just fucking send daggers at me, it's I'll deal with it, even though he
Mhm.
doesn't deal with it, right? But at the end, like, how is getting Ellie to read the poem or read the essay, like, how does that relate to themes of like vulnerability and shades of gray, right and wrong, and doing the good thing even though it causes like harm.
Well,
It doesn't seem
I think
to connect.
it doesn't really. I think that it's more of a surface level connection to the beginning of the movie and his desire to have that read to him as he's dying. So in the end, he's aware that he's dying. He's gonna die, and him hearing his daughter read the essay, that kind of like gave him completion and closure, and that is symbolically represented by him getting up and walking to her, and then getting flung up to heaven, I guess.
Which you, you, you gotta imagine the dark part of me was like, is he gonna fall on her?
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like his heart's gonna give out, he's gonna fall and crush her, and that's how this movie's gonna end.
If we take it as like when he lifted off into heaven that he died, he's going down.
And regardless, he died right in front of her. Yeah.
Well,
he's got to clean up. Someone's got to clean up that fucking body now.
It leads to the question: did he actually get up and walk towards her, or is that just symbology?
Yeah.
Like,
did he die on the couch?
Yeah. The realist in me says he probably just died on the couch, because there's no way that he would be able to walk like that after struggling so mightily to even stand unaided.
Yeah, and on top
but
of
it's one of those ambiguous ones where you can just kind of take what you want. But I don't know how well it connects.
Trying to be artsy, but no, I agree, Peter. It doesn't really connect with the theme of the movie, and the movie's focus tends to be in a lot of different places. Is it about the family relations? Is it about Charlie's struggle with obesity? Is it about, morally conscionable right and wrong actions? Like, and some of the characters.
How does Moby Dick, which is like a tale of like the futile chase to try and fight your inner demons, and how that it doesn't work out. Like, that's what I think the theme of Moby Dick is, but I don't know how that.
Yeah, and it's not like Charlie tried to solve his problem. Like if he they had scenes where he's trying to eat healthier, and he just can't keep with it or whatever. That would be kind of like the futile pursuit of slaying your inner demons. And this weird, it kind of seems weird to me that Charlie's character would be of the opinion that having a pile of money to give to his daughter would be better than him being around for her.
Yeah.
If he loves her that much, like it really didn't seem to like hold true, and that's why I kind of felt like a lot of the stuff was tacked on. So it's revealed at one point in the movie.
Baka, I want you, you dummy.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That I think maybe is what is the missing linchpin of this movie is the fact that the thing that's unsettling is that he waited till he had a week to live to reach out to his daughter directly, and if he really wanted to, why didn't he do that earlier?
And he tries to put up some defenses, but
and he always and maybe this is kind of the crux of it, is that he always finds excuses for his actions, finds excuses for eating, finds excuses for cheating, finds excuses for being out of their lives for so long, and he always finds that excuse of like, oh no, like I asked about you, like I asked your mom all the time, like we call once a month. But then in the end, he like reaches out to her directly and kind of subverts that. It's like, why didn't you do that earlier if you wanted
Could have
to?
done it at any time.
Yeah. Why don't you check up on her more often? Like, why are you waiting until you're dying, and you're not like really physically able to be with her, and you kind of have to rely on her coming to you in order for you to have this moment with your daughter, and then on top of that, make it be the most important aspect of your life to be a part of her life. And then you kind of get back to that whole good intentions may have like bad results or vice versa. Where he has a good intention of like being with her daughter, but is that actually hurting her in the end? Because he's coming back into her life only to die a week later, days later. And she was put through this emotional roller coaster of I hate you, you walked out on us, to I kind of care for you, to you're gone, you're dead to me, like you're now you're dead. I can't have any closure. But maybe he was trying to give her that closure of saying I'm sorry and this is why I did what I did to give her answers. Um, but it does kind of like give a ton of different messages throughout the movie that mm, vaguely connect. I kind of took it more as like the overarching web of like what obesity and trauma can do to a family and do to
It's
a person's life and how it rips it apart, and how you have the different people in your life that uh, may be the enablers or maybe the helpers, who are actually looking out for your best interest, and um, why you do the certain things you do. Are you just eating to eat to fill that hole, or are you eating um, to for sustenance? And it's more the latter of filling that void instead of actually getting real help that he probably needed. Therapy probably would have helped instead of a meatball sub.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, Bits and pieces while we're kind of finishing this up. There are some cute little comedy moments and lighthearted moments in there. There's a couple really nice little place jokes, like when he
there's a
gets the
couple
wheelchair
of real nuggets
and he goes,
and a sea of
"Yay."
depression and
Yeah.
hatefulness. Yeah.
But
Um,
that is the beauty of Brendan Fraser, though. I mean, come on, he can give
yep.
a performance of a lifetime. But those couple times when he was like chuckling about, "What, you're gonna stab me? Well, you got like you got a few
My
inches
internal
before any
organs are
vital
like 2
organs."
He's
feet in
reading
at
this
least.
fucking awful like tear down poem over. He's like, 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's a haiku.
Like that's funny,
That's great.
and
Um,
that shows a good breadth of Brendan Fraser, regardless of like what. I mean, I think he's definitely gained dramatic chops over the years due to maybe just maturing and going through different shit in life. But damn, I mean, that wasn't in the Mummy.
and yeah, and the other tidbit, there's stuff about like, oh, the Raven. I knew it. That's its whole thing, and the Dan, the pizza man, is the whole thing. But we don't have that time, so I'll just say I loved the setting and I loved the set design, and I loved because I've been in those places where it's like it's probably smells a little bit and it's very dark and there's not a lot of like all the windows are covered up and there's a little bit of like old grime on everything. Not that you kept the place dirty, but it's just been sitting there for a while. I know that place intimately, and I know rural Idaho feels like New York State. Like I'm looking out my window right now, and I'm like, yeah, that's about the size of it. Like when that bus pulls up in that first shot, I'm like, oh yeah, that is this my bad? Is this like upstate New York? Where are we going here? Um, and it just struck me because it's not a place that a lot of people film in, because everyone films stuff in like California or like other places that I just don't like, relate to.
Right.
And near a trailer park in rural Idaho, I can relate to that.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't put him in a trailer.
It's because they couldn't put him on the second floor otherwise.
Yeah.
Which again was great. I was wondering if he was gonna fall off those. He was gonna try and like walk, and he was gonna die by falling off those stairs.
I
Instead,
thought, yeah, I know, being familiar with Aronofsky's work, I knew how this was going to end. I'm like, this isn't going to work out well for our boy, even though you
Yeah.
desperately want it to.
right?
So every time something like that showed up, I'm like, oh, that's going to be a cruel thing.
Why would you do that? Yeah, so that's my thoughts. There's plenty more we could talk about. You can't say this movie doesn't spark discussion. My main complaint is just that it's kind of acted a little stiffly by people who weren't Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, it's a story that's reached kind of outseeds its grasp, that stretches its grasp, and doesn't really coalesce all the different kinds of themes it pays lip service to, and the characters are really only skin deep. But Brendan Fraser's performance is so magnetic that it lends greater perceived depth to Charlie. Even though if you like just read the book that this is based on, if Charlie's as thin as he is in the screenplay here, then you might not feel that way about him. but it's worth watching when it comes home on streaming, however long that might be. But don't feel the need to rush out to the theater to see it.
Yeah. I'm
Brendan
sure it'll be
Fraser's
available
definitely
on
gonna
streaming.
be nominated.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna be available after he gets his nomination and or just wins it because he
He
already won his Critics'
He
Choice
should
Awards.
win. Yeah, he's won an award for it already. He's definitely gonna be nominated. I mean, there's a lot of movie year left, but hard to imagine that he wouldn't be the favorite right now.
Wait, for what?
Best Actor, Academy Award.
Academy Award. Because I just had the Critics' Choice that he won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he did not win the one before that. What was that? Was that the Academy? What was the award show that just happened? Because Elvis won that one.
All right, let me look this up. Elvis Award. No, Elvis 20. The AACTA, ACTA. Elvis 2022 won a outstanding performance by a male actor in a leading role at ACTA 2023 or BAFTA. Talk about BAFTA. I don't know what show you're talking.
So
about.
there's the ACTA International Awards. The day of the ceremony of that is February 24th. He's nominated for Best Actor. Same as for the AARP Movies for Grown Ups Awards.
Amazing.
Alliance of Women Film Journalists. He's nominated for Best Actor there as well. Chicago Film
BAFTA. I think BAFTA was whatever it was. Huh, I thought that was
Yeah, he won the Critics' Choice Movie Award. Yeah, pending for all their awards here, but yeah, he's got a good shot at it, and I'd be very happy for him to see that. That would really be the cherry on top of his Brenissance.
Yeah,
and that's going to be the cherry on top for episode 350 of the Saturn Studs podcast. We'll be back next week, probably taking a look at The Old Way, the new Nick Cage revenge western. So, I mean, they had us at Nick Cage.
Yeah.
What can you do? But until then, be well, stay safe, and party like it's 1995.
Peace.
Bye-bye.